Electricity is a mystery to many people, but some electrical projects, like wiring a switch, are so simple that anyone can do them. With just a few simple steps and the right knowledge, anyone can easily and safely wire a switch. Always turn the power off at the breaker before starting any electrical project. Once you've turned your power off, remove the switch cover and use a current detector to make sure there's no power going to any of the wires in the electrical box. If there's no power, you're ready to move on to the first step. Electrical wires and screw terminals are color-coded to help you match each wire to the correct terminal. But this doesn't mean that color coding is always a reliable guide. For example, sometimes white wires are used in place of black wires, and some devices, like outlets and lamps, can be wired backward and still work, even though this creates a potential shock hazard. Understanding the basics of electrical circuits and color coding will help you assess existing wiring and avoid some common mistakes with new installations. A simple standard electrical circuit has a black or red hot wire that carries power from the power source to the device. For example, a switch, a fixture, an outlet, or an appliance. A white neutral wire that carries the power back to the power source, and a green or bare copper ground wire that connects the device to the home's grounding system. A black or red wire usually connects to a brass-colored screw terminal or black wire lead on electrical devices. A white neutral wire usually connects to a silver-colored terminal or white wire lead. A green or bare ground wire almost always makes a ground connection, to a ground screw on a device, electrical box, or appliance case, or to a green wire lead. Of course, there are always exceptions to the rule, and there are many legitimate and not so legitimate ways to wire devices that don't follow the basic color coding, so never make assumptions based on color coding alone. Single-pole single-throw switches have only 2 terminals, plus a ground screw, in newer switches. The switch terminals connect only to the hot wires in a circuit and are interchangeable, so the terminal screws are the same color. These switches don't typically connect to the neutral, so there is no terminal for the neutral wire. This is a simplistic schematic of what is going on. The hot wire is switched to the light with a neutral returning to the source. There are 2 ways that a switch can be wired to control a light. First of all, there will always be a 2-wire cable connecting the switch to the light. Let's call it the connecting cable. A 2-wire cable will have a black wire and a white wire and usually a ground wire. Then power has to be introduced to this circuit arrangement, which is also done with a 2-wire cable. Let's call it the power cable. It can be either brought into the light box, which holds the light, or the power can be brought into the switch box, which holds the switch. Connections are then made in the boxes that hold the light and the switch. This diagram shows the connections made inside the light box, and the switch box for the situation where the power cable comes into the light box. The first thing to note, is that the incoming ground wire from the power cable, is connected to the outgoing ground wire, in the connecting cable. The ground wire is also connected to the light box, and the switch box. There are ground screws in both of these boxes, which are indicated in our diagram by a round green spot. Newer switches will have ground screws, which must be connected to the ground wires. The white wire from the power cable is connected to one of the terminals of the light, which is either a screw or a white wire. The black wire from the power cable is connected to the white wire of the connecting cable. This white wire enters the switch box, and it is connected to one of the 2 screws on the side of the single-pole single-throw switch. The black wire from the connecting cable is connected to the other screw of this switch. The black wire from the connecting cable entering the light box is connected to the other terminal of the light, which is either a screw or a black wire. This is an updated version of the previous arrangement. Because the electrical code as of the 2011 update requires a neutral wire in most new switch boxes, a 3-wire cable runs between the light and switch. The red and black are used for hot, and the white neutral wire at the switch box allows for powering a timer, remote control, or a programmable switch. Here a single-pole switch controls the power to a light fixture. The source is at the switch, and a 2-wire cable runs from there to the light. The source hot wire is connected to one switch terminal and the other terminal is connected to the black cable wire running to the light. The neutral wire from the source is spliced to the white cable wire of the connecting cable, and continues on to the light. At the light, the white wire connects to the neutral terminal and the black wire connects to the hot terminal. Here 2 switches are wired in the same box to control 2 separate lights. The source is at the switch box, and a 2-wire cable runs to each light. One source is spliced to each switch with a pigtail to power the 2 lights. This diagram illustrates the wiring for a split receptacle. With the top half controlled by switch number 1 and the bottom half is always hot. The receptacle is split by breaking the connecting tab between the two, brass-colored terminals. The tab between the neutral, silver terminals should remain intact. Here, the source is at the outlet and a 2-wire cable runs from there to switch number 1. The circuit neutral wire is connected to one of the neutral terminals on the outlet. It doesn't run to the switch. The hot source is spliced to a pigtail that connect to the bottom, always hot half on the receptacle, and to the white cable wire running to switch number 1. It is common practice for the white wire to be marked black on both ends to identify it as hot. The black cable wire runs to the switch number 1, connecting it to the hot on the top half of the split outlet. In this updated diagram, a 3-wire cable runs between the receptacle and switch, and the red cable wire is used to carry the hot source to the switch. The neutral from the source is spliced through to the switch box using the white wire. And in this diagram, the white wire is capped with a wire nut. This represents a change in the NEC code that requires the presence of a neutral wire in most new switch boxes. The white neutral wire in the switch box allows for powering a timer, remote control, or a programmable switch. 3-way switches allow for controlling a light fixture from 2 separate locations. These are usually used at the top and bottom of a flight of stairs, or at 2 different entrances to a room. What follows are several wiring diagrams that can be used to map 3-way lighting circuits, depending on the location of the power source, in relation to the switches and lights. 3-way switches have 3 terminals to carry circuit electricity, and 1 terminal for a ground wire. Of the 3 circuit terminals, 1 is called the common, and the other 2 are known as travelers. The common terminal may be labeled and is usually a different color than the traveler terminals. Depending on the manufacturer, the travelers may be on opposite sides of the device, or the 2 terminals may be on the same side. In any case, the common terminal will be distinguished from the travelers in some way. The common terminal will always be connected to a hot wire, either from the source or on the light fixture. These connections can be reversed if it's more convenient, as long as one of the 3-way common terminals connects to the hot source and the other one connects to the hot on the load. These circuits will work properly. The traveler terminals will always be connected from switch to switch. Travelers never connect to a device load or to a source wire. It doesn't matter which traveler terminal is used for which traveler wire, reversing them should make no difference. In this diagram, the electrical source is at the first switch, and the light is located at the end of the circuit. A 3-wire cable runs between the switches, and a 2-wire cable runs to the light. The black and red wires between switch number 1 and switch number 2 are connected to the traveler terminals. The hot source is connected to the common terminal on switch number 1, and the common terminal on switch number 2 connects to the hot terminal on the light. The power source in this circuit is at the first switch, and the light fixture is located between switch number 1 and switch number 2. A 3-wire cable runs between each switch and the light fixture. The hot source wire is connected to the common terminal on switch number 1. The common terminal on switch number 2 is connected to the hot terminal on the light. The traveler wires are spliced in the fixture box to run between the traveler terminals on the switches. They are not connected to the light. In this diagram, the power source for the circuit is at the light fixture, and the 2 switches come after the light. A 2-wire cable runs from the light to switch number 1, and a 3-wire cable runs between switch number 1 and switch number 2. The hot source wire is spliced in the light box to the white cable wire running to the first switch box. There it is spliced to the black wire, running to the second switch box, which is then connected to the common terminal on switch number 2. When a white wire is used for hot like this, it's marked with black tape or paint at the ends to identify it as hot. Back at the light fixture, the hot terminal on the light is connected to the black wire running to the common terminal on switch number 1. At switch number 1, the red and white wires running to switch number 2 are used as travelers, connecting the traveler terminals between the 2 switches. Again, the white wire is marked with black on the ends to identify it as hot. In this arrangement, the power source for the circuit is at the light fixture, which is located in the middle of the circuit. A 3-wire cable runs to the switches on each side of the light. At the light, the hot source wire is spliced to the black wire, running to the common terminal on switch number 2. The hot terminal on the light fixture is connected to the black wire running to the common terminal on switch number 1. The red and white cable wires are spliced in the fixture box and run to the traveler terminals on both switches. They don't connect to the light fixture. It is good practice to mark the white wire if it is being used as a hot wire. In this case, the white wire is marked with black tape on both ends to identify it as hot. This wiring diagram makes use of a 4-way switch, located between two 3-way switches, to control lights from any one of the switches. A 4-way switch is a double pole, double throw switch. The light is on, because the circuit is complete. Now, let's flip the left switch. And the light goes off, because the circuit is broken. This time, let's flip the switch on the right. And the light comes on again. The center switch is a 4-way switch. Flipping it is the same as crossing the red and black wires. Which, once again, turns off the lamp, because once again, the circuit is broken. It is intuitive to conclude that flipping any of the 3 switches, one at a time, reverses the state of the lamp. Flipping the switch on the right makes the light come on again. Then flipping a 4-way switch will again turn off the light. Toggling the left switch again completes the circuit to turn the light on. This time, flipping the right switch causes the light to extinguish, because the circuit is again broken. Flipping the 4-way switch again turns on the light. As you can see, flipping each of the switches will cause the light to change states. Off to on, or on to off. Any number of these 4-way switches can be used, as long as they're placed between the 3-way switches. The light can be turned off, or on, from any one of the 5 switches. The wiring diagram here makes use of 3 4-way switches, located between 2 3-way switches, to control lights from 5 locations. 2-wire cable is used between the power source and the first 3-way switch, and between the light and the second 3-way switch. 3-wire cable is used between the 5 switches. The red and black wires on the cables are connected to the traveler screws on the 5 switches. All of the white wires are spliced together in each switch boxes, and connected to the neutral of the light. The black hot wire, coming from the source, is connected to the common terminal of the first 3-way switch, and the common of the second 3-way switch is connected through to the 2-wire cable to the hot terminal of the light. In this basic 4-way light circuit, a 3-wire cable runs between the switches, and a 2-wire cable runs from the power source to the first 3-way switch, and from the last switch to the light. The black hot wire connects to the common there. The circuit neutral is spliced at each switch box, through to the light fixture, using the white wire. The black and red wires running between the switch boxes are connected to the travelers on each switch. The common terminal on the 3-way switch at the end of the circuit connects to the black wire running to the hot terminal on the light. Take note that the traveler wires, from switch SW1 are connected to the T1 pair, on the 4-way switch, and the travelers going to switch SW2, are connected to the T2 pair on the 4-way switch. Each pair of traveler terminals on the 4-way must be connected to only one 3-way switch. Don't mix up the pairs or the circuit will not work properly. Here, 2 4-way and 2 3-way switches are used to control lights from 4 different locations. The 2 4-way switches are located between the 2 3-way switches. A 2-wire cable is used between the power source and the first 3-way switch, and a 2-wire cable is used between the light and the second 3-way switch. 3-wire cables are used between the 4 switches. The red and black wires on the cables are connected to the traveler screws on the 4 switches. All of the white wires are spliced together in each of the switch boxes and then connected to the neutral of the light. The black hot wire coming from the source is connected to the common terminal of the first 3-way switch, and the common of the second 3-way switch is connected through to the 2-wire cable to the hot terminal of the light. This information, as well as other related electrical blogs, may be found on my website at https://www.getpspt.com. There you also have access to my courses, which are continuously being added to, and at the present time include the following.